Well, hey, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Keys to the Shop, where we give you insights, inspiration, and the tools you need to grow as a coffee service professional. My name is Chris DiFirio. I'm your host for the show. If you have the opportunity right now to subscribe to the show, if you've not done so, that's really helpful. Just hit subscribe on YouTube or Spotify, on Apple Podcasts, or wherever you listen to podcasts. And also just send me your questions and comments, feedback, that kind of stuff. Inquiries into consulting and coaching, all to chris@keystotheshop.com. Don't forget, we have a webinar coming up. Actually, in the airing of this episode, it's going to be December 5th. It's a week away. So it'd be great for you to sign up for that. Go to the show notes. You'll find it as one of the first links there to the Principles of Cafe Success webinar and our first webinar offering at Keys to the Shop. I'm pretty excited about it. So hopefully we can see you there. There's still space left there, and I would love for you to sign up. So go ahead and check that link out for the webinar called Keys to the Shop, Principles for Cafe Success. Now, today's episode is brought to us by our two great sponsors. First, we have the Barista Series from Pacific at pacificfoodservice.com. And we also have Arto Brick at Arto Brick on Instagram. We're going to talk about both of those companies later on in today's episode. But first, we're going to introduce you to our guest. And that is Mackenzie Cohen, who is the owner of Kittitas Cafe in Kittitas, Washington. And she has been working in the food and beverage industry in the U.S. and in Australia for over 10 years. She found a love for coffee and food and people there, and has really just loved making this a career. The Kittitas Cafe's unofficial motto is love on people so much that they can't help but love us back. Now, that's a really awesome motto to have. And for the last 4 years or so now, Kittitas Cafe has become a pillar in the community, delivering exactly that kind of love with the food, the coffee, how people are treated in the cafe as peers, between management and staff, and between everybody and the customers. It's definitely one of these great cafes that is really striving to daily live out with integrity the values that they espouse. And here we are, finally getting her on the show to talk about the founding and development of this cafe and her own development as a professional, as an entrepreneur. And she just really helps put a great amount of heart into this conversation. The clear vision that she and her team have for what happens in the cafe guides all of the necessary technical innovations they need, development of logistics, and all the little checklist stuff that has to happen in a cafe. That guiding principle and that guiding vision that they have for what they're trying to accomplish fuels so much of what they do. You're going to find this, I think, to be a pretty inspirational conversation. And I'm really grateful that we got the opportunity to talk to Mackenzie. So without further ado, let's get right to it. Here now is my conversation with the founder of Kittitas Cafe in Kittitas, Washington, Mackenzie Cohen. Well, Mackenzie, welcome to the show. How's it going today?
Good. Yeah, I'm happy to be here. Thanks for having me.
Oh, of course. Yeah. It's funny. Earlier this year, I took a random road out in Eastern Washington, and I was heading back from Moses Lake to Seattle, and I happened to drive through your town. It happened. It was like I didn't plan on it, but I found your cafe. I got a decaf. I think I got a decaf Americano.
Mm-hmm.
And what I then did was I either pulled over or I irresponsibly texted while I was driving. I don't know which one. But to say on the Instagram account how much I thought it was a great decaf Americano. You normally don't get something that tastes that good. And we exchanged, the ideas of like, yeah, we dial in the decaf, and that just awesome. Thank you.
Yes.
But, it was a great chance discovery to find a place in this town, which in my eyes, there's not a whole lot around the area.
Yeah.
In Kittitas, and except for that city, and here you are. So what is it that kind of inspired you to open this place in that location, in that city? Obviously, it's something people love to have in the town. What was the inspiration behind it?
So I grew up in Ellensburg, which is just 10 minutes down the road. It's a college town. And I was homeschooled and I ended up getting on lots of the Kittitas teams for like sports and stuff. And so I had little
Hmm.
connections there. Those were just small things. I didn't know that they would mean so much later on. I was living in Australia in 2019 and decided that I wanted to come back. And my parents had purchased this just 1930s building. It was a tiny apartment and then an old garage that the previous owners worked on like classic cars in, and they were
Mm.
kind of deciding like what they wanted to do with it. And I had always wanted something in like the restaurant industry, and they were like, well, you could open something like your coffee shop in here. And we went back and forth, and I was like, I don't know, nothing really seems to stick in Kittitas. Like, it's such a small town. But we kind of thought about it more and more, and it was like pretty much, I think, going to be the only opportunity that I would have. And it was such a cool building, and it was just blank paper, like I could have done whatever I wanted. And my parents, as landlords, are also really handy. And we
That's nice.
decided
Yeah.
just to pull the trigger. And I mean, every little town, I think, deserves to have some kind of coffee shop, and there was nothing there. Those terms. There was a few bars that had some decent food, a Mexican restaurant, and I think it was just like the next thing that it needed.
Yeah, that's really cool. And yeah, your parents as landlords,
Yeah.
it's got to feel kind of like I don't know how it would feel. I would almost feel like I was back at my house again, like that.
I lived with them during the pandemic, and we were going to open the summer of the pandemic, and obviously that changed things. So during that whole time, since we were in the same household, we got to work on the building the whole time, and so it gave
Wow.
us time and opportunity to really like handpick what we wanted to do and plan it. So it was super. I don't know. I It was, everything was super serendipitous, I think, and I don't know if I could have pulled it off like I have if the circumstances were different.
So you kind of discussed this idea of every town needs a coffee shop, and
Mm-hmm.
a lot of towns do have a coffee shop. They have
Mm-hmm.
a cafe, a diner. You get, it's very much old school, right?
Yeah,
The smaller the town tends to be a little bit more of that flavor.
yeah.
And, your place is not like that. And I have to imagine that it's because you were influenced by coffee culture in Australia and
Mm-hmm.
also in Washington. There is a lot of places to go if get around to different cities. So is it a combination of the things that you kind of knew you loved about the coffee cultures that you'd experienced?
For one, I have to like give a lot of credit to my mom. She has been a connoisseur of coffee and espresso since the 90s. And so a lot of my childhood was going to the coffee shop with my mom. And she'd even save her plastic ice cups, and we would like make mud coffee in the backyard, and have like a coffee shop. So coffee was a big part of my life, even just as childhood and onward. But I actually learned how to barista in Australia. I was doing a working holiday when I was 18. And that was when I was introduced to actually like the craft of coffee and embracing steaming milk, all that kind of stuff. And I loved it there. And some of the most beautiful cafes in Australia. I don't know. You've probably been? No?
Never
Oh,
been.
gosh.
No.
You got to go. And then I came back and I ended up working at a cafe that was very similar to the one that I now own. And I kind of took those two aspects and I couldn't get away from it. I loved it so much. And it kind of just bred, yeah, what we have now. I did a small stint in bartending at like a divey bar in town. And some of like I'd say like athleticism in serving and pace of our cafe is kind
Oh,
of inspired by the bartending experience. But yeah, it's just kind of a combination of all the places that I loved and enjoyed
yeah,
up
yeah.
until this point. So
You just mentioned athleticism. And I think that's the first time I've ever heard somebody use that word in reference to bars and coffee bars. And I think it's perfect. So, can you elaborate a little bit more about what you mean when you say that?
So, like the bar that I worked at, there was no sections. So all the bartenders were the servers and the bartenders. So you would go to any table and you'd help each other out. And we covered a lot of ground, and then we would make our own drinks. So it was very physical, and we kind of have that same concept at the cafe. Like, no one's like in set positions necessarily. Like, we move about the cafe and just pop in. Like, if someone's at the register and you were just polishing some silverware, you're going to run over to the register, take their order. Or maybe someone hasn't ordered a coffee in a bit, and then someone at the register takes an order and there's a coffee up. Whoever was bussing a table runs over and does that. And we do get set in our positions like once like a line forms and it gets kind of busy, but it's really physical. You have to be really aware of your body. Like, even, the puck press was created because of wrist pain and tamping. Like, it's hard on the body. My massage therapist can tell that I, hunch over a bar for hours on end. So I think that it's extremely athletic. I think the service industry in general is an extremely physical job.
Yeah.
Honestly, it's everything. It's mental, emotional, physical, and just like extremely skilled labor. So, yeah.
Yeah, it's a performance. I mean, the
Hmm.
way that you would go and see somebody, they say the dance of the barista and all of this stuff, right?
Yeah.
I've heard that. That was like a common early 2000s and 90s way of talking about it. But really, you're doing these things, and it is draining, and you have to kind of be on top of it, especially
Mhm.
with the design of the way you have your service. What does that provide for the customer that you find really endearing? I mean, I know you have your roles when you get busy, but as a team, do you find that it helps you stay aware of everything instead of getting set in one place? Or what are some of the qualities there?
Yeah, I think it's fun for the customers to get to interact with multiple people. They also get to see how hard you're working. So, like, if something takes a little longer, they see the motion. They're like, "Oh, they're not just standing around. They're all doing something all the time." So it shows that kind of care. And I think it also gives the crew breaks because each role takes a little something from someone. Like, I these days, register is really intense for me. That social, like, over and over and over again is really
Yeah.
intense sometimes, and I honestly prefer running food, busting tables, and washing dishes but it just depends on the day and what people are feeling and what they
Yeah.
need. So, yeah.
That's great. So when you talk about this, you're thinking about what people are feeling and what they need. It sounds like you give some freedom for your staff to kind of rotate in and out of places where they feel they can give their best
Mhm.
and support other people. It must be a lot easier. Of course, it's a kind of a tongue in cheek. I know it is easier to serve other people when you feel good,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. 100%. We actually just were having a discussion with one of my crew members today. Like, you're never gonna feel like 100% in one area every day. So, like, if you ever have needs when you come on to shift and you're like, "Hey, I'm having a kind of hard mental health day. I'd rather just be on bar for the majority of the day." We'll be like,
Mhm.
"Heck yeah! Like, let's get someone who's ready to talk to people all day on the register and kind of just adapt from there."
So you're looking at this small town, opening this coffee shop. Now, we've just talked about your team,
Hmm.
and this group of people has been assembled from places where they're pretty close by. I mean, otherwise they wouldn't be working there. It's not a huge trek. So, how did you go about getting the right folks to join with you in producing this kind of thing? To do what your tagline or your motto is. Share with us your motto, and then how you get people who will help you achieve that.
So our motto, like, I just need to call it our motto, not our unofficial, but I haven't really solidified it, but it's love on people so much they can't help but love you back. And that kind of came one, I think that my family has just always been kind of that way, but like, we opened during the pandemic. We were still masking. We were in a rural farm town, and a lot of people there are set in their ways, and these people that they don't know just come and open this coffee shop, right? And I was just like, the only chance we have with these people is we gotta just make them fall in love with us. And like they were fine. Like they go to Ellensburg to get their coffee, but this is their small town, and people, I think, are really protective of their small town, and change can be scary sometimes. So we were like, I just want to love on these people so much they can't help but love us back, and it's worked, and this community is like super wonderful. So I think what we first would lead in with, I guess once we started getting going, like a couple of years in, I would just say, to the people that we were interviewing for a job, and it was completely true and from the heart, because this is truly how I feel. The customers that we have at the cafe are the kindest I've ever experienced. And I had a decade worth of customer service prior, and they're just supportive and loyal and wonderful, and like they're so great. So I would say, customer service is really important to us, and whoever we hire needs to that needs to be a passion of theirs. That needs to be something that they care deeply about, because without our customers in this small town coffee shop, cafe, we don't have a business. And so I think we hit that really hard. But I also wanted to let whoever we were, looking to hire know that even though customer service is very important, that whole customer is always right mentality isn't how we base things. You guys matter too, and we don't accept disrespect. We don't. If someone makes you uncomfortable, that's not okay. So we had to make sure that they knew, yeah, we expect you to be kind and treat people really well, but they also have to do the same for you.
That's perfect. Yeah. And the overcoming of people's skepticism towards something new is
Mm-hmm.
definitely, as we see, especially coffee going out into the burbs, going out into the rural areas a lot more these
Yeah.
days. Maybe as a result of the saturation of the market in urban areas where the real estate is pretty saturated with coffee shops. So you're talking about people who maybe consider their way of life a little bit like they're set in their ways. They love it.
Mm-hmm.
They want to keep it that way.
Yeah.
So when you love on people, it sounds like you actually have to know a little bit about them
Yeah.
in order to know how to, what do they call it? Their love. What's their love language in coffee? Like how do we
Yeah.
how do we speak this to them? So when you
Yeah.
talk about your new coffee shop and maybe introducing new concepts to them and
Mhm.
this new place, how do you strike a balance between kind of meeting them where they are and
Mhm.
then also introducing something new to them at the same time?
Yeah, it's kind of tough, but yes, people are set in their own ways, but I also think if the person that's trying to sell you the drink actually cares about it and are like, this is so delicious, like you have to try it. How you speak about it gets people excited. And also, like, I was willing to be like, here, just try this. If you hate it, I'll make you whatever you want. But like, I think sometimes you have to give a little to like get people to open up and try new things. And I think I love food and coffee, and so I think hopefully if you talk about it in that way, people are like, well, I guess maybe I need to try that. Because I have people that never tried cappuccinos before and now they love them, or a cortado before and now they love them. So I think having what they want and their comfort stuff like available, but also being like, maybe you should try this.
Yeah. What's a comfort thing in that area?
I'd say like a white chocolate caramel latte, 20-ounce iced, you know, or go the other way, a drip coffee.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think, and then matcha, like, matcha is not something that anyone probably would have thought to try from our normal customer base. So we'd be like, well, let's try your latte that you enjoy, like a white chocolate caramel latte. Let's do it matcha instead of espresso. And then now we have people that order matcha every day that never in a million years would have ordered it, in the past. So I think
Yeah, yeah.
kind of adapting, and I don't know if that answers the question,
Yeah,
but
it totally does. Yeah,
yeah.
you and the crew are spicing up their life, you
Yeah.
know? That's pretty cool. So now as you I want to take a step back here. You built this cafe,
Yeah.
and as you started to get to the point where now you had the vision in mind, you wanted
Mhm.
to introduce this to this town, you're building it, but it's also part of your responsibility as the owner to anticipate and train yourself for the challenges, or to grow with the challenges and roll with the punches. It's not the easiest thing to be changed by the thing that you're taking on, this new venture. What were some of the early challenges that you had to get through that shaped you into the leader that you are today, and and frankly, just the success of the cafe? What were some of those challenges that you had to overcome?
Oh man. I think some of the biggest challenges was like working with people in management. I had very little management experience before opening this cafe. So that was definitely like just a learn as I go situation. I'm still learning a lot. And even just this last year and a half, 2 years, I've grown a ton on managing people. I think that I had experienced poor management in several jobs, and I was like, I never want to be like these people. But sometimes you can like see where they went wrong and why, because of the stress, financial stress and understaffing and bad reviews and all those things. Those things pile up, cause a lot of stress. But I think that communication and just being really open to communication with people, one of the best things I did was let go of the vine a little bit and offered management positions. Our systems kind of grew, listening to the crew and hearing their needs and seeing what I could reasonably do to like meet their needs so that they were comfortable and that flow was more efficient. But I think it will always be a forever learning thing. It's hard because it was so much, over the last 4 years.
You can pack a lot, and it's amazing how much stuff can happen in 4 years and how quickly it goes, but how much is in there.
Yeah.
And anybody who has been open for 4, 5, 10, 20 years, they look back, and I'll tell you this: the problems that a 20-year veteran of the industry has are not too dissimilar from the problems that a 4-year owner has.
Yeah.
It's just changed shape. Maybe there's more tools in the toolbox. Maybe
Yeah.
there's a lot more history that they've embodied, and they're just like, oh, I know. My spidey sense is tingling, and that spidey sense has only been developed because I've been burned before. And
Yeah.
your experience in food service, though, in experiencing bad management, and we've all been there. I mean,
Mhm.
heck, I say on the show all the time, I've been a bad manager, I've been a good manager,
Yeah.
and today, though, you feel like you know what that's like, so it's almost easier for you to not be that person because you've got that image. Unfortunately, you had that experience, but fortunately, you're less likely to repeat it, right?
Right. Yeah. It definitely is like holds a boundary with myself to being like, well, this is what I definitely don't want to do, with this situation. So how can I find a way to not do that and accomplish what I need to accomplish? So that's definitely helpful.
What's reasonable to you when you talked about your staff, listening to your staff? What can I do to help them reasonably? How would you define reasonably?
I guess when I honestly, when I was describing that, like sometimes this is a very like equipment. Like I think sometimes some places that I worked, they needed to upgrade some piece of equipment or get something new because it would in turn be easy, like easier on the body of the person using the tool, or would make the process a lot quicker so that they could do more with their time. Stuff like that. Like I learned that like we were using I think a KitchenAid food processor and it kept breaking, and then we would have to like figure something else out until we got replacement parts. And finally I just ordered like the nice Roboku, and it changed. Everyone was so excited, and like stuff like that, but reasonable, meaning like if you can afford it, if it's not gonna create financial hardship, or like you don't want to like loosen the like reins on something for like one person only for them, and then it negatively affects everyone else. I think that would also fall under like what's reasonable, what's not. And like I learned that I was giving a certain employee way too many chances with something, and it was starting to really affect everyone else involved. And then I was like, well, crap, the issue is becoming this person's place, and I don't want to say it was that person, they just weren't a good fit for the rest of the crew, because if everyone else is dreading coming to work because of this one person, that's
Yeah.
the issue that you need to resolve, I guess. So but I want to give everyone chances, and I think I'm a little bit of a softie, and that was a big lesson, is learning when it's time to like shift and adjust.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, it's a hard one because given your motto, and yeah, obviously extends to staff as well.
Yeah.
And at the same time, sometimes loving your staff well or caring for
Mhm.
them is having to address stuff like that. So when you make those decisions as an owner now, and or even then, but even today, I think it might be a little bit more clear for you.
Mhm.
What are you serving? What's the end you're serving when you have to make a decision that is uncomfortable but necessary for the sake of what?
Well, for instance, if it is a crew member that's just not a good fit, I think eventually it's not a good fit for that crew member nor the rest of the crew. So I want the outcome to be what's right for everyone involved. And it might be hard for either party to like come to terms with that. But for the sake of a place that, you know, people enjoy coming to work, I think that's my main thing, is like at any point, if someone's not enjoying coming to work, we got to either fix that, or maybe that's just not the place for them anymore. But I don't want people working for me if they're coming to work and dreading it. Like that just sounds
Uh,
horrible to me. And I think it
yeah.
happens a lot. I think a lot of people go to work and they're not like super happy about it. And it might be personality types, it might be the type of work they're doing, but like we've come really far and figured out, or I guess how to find the right people that feel good in the space. And we check in a lot with everyone, and we are just always reiterating, if you are like not enjoying coming to work, like let's talk about it and make sure that this is still like where everyone needs to be.
Yeah. Yeah. I like that approach because you're like, well, if something needs to change here, then we can change something here
Yeah.
within the reasonable, bounds. But what if it truly isn't a right fit and they're not happy? It's not too dissimilar from a customer who, if you had the perfect coffee, be it the drip coffee or the sugary coffee, and
Mm.
everything went perfect, but they just don't like what you do, then you can't really change that, and it might
Yeah.
not be the shop for them.
Yeah. That's a great example too. Like we really try and take input and see if it's something that we can change within reason, that's not going to completely change who we are. But like we got a review just that was like they were so upset that we were counter service. And I'm just like, and they'd be like, the food's good and all, but I just want someone to come to my table and take my order. And I'm like, well, that's not going to change. This is how we do it, and so we just
Yeah.
might not be the place for you, and that's okay. There's lots of other table service restaurants that are great, but that's just not what we do here. So
Yeah.
yeah.
And it's okay. And that when you say it like that, when you say, hear yourself say it, that's just not what we do here. if you came across that phrase without the context of this conversation, it immediately sounds combative.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Um,
Yeah.
because we're bent to assume negative intent,
Hmm.
but there is a point at which we do have to be like, there are things that fit with other things, and
Hmm.
those that don't fit, and it's fine, it's
Yeah.
okay, and it's not against loving people.
Mm-mm.
It's you know what I mean? It's not against hospitality.
We are always going to do our best, to meet the needs of someone. And I always try and encourage customers to reach out before they write a review, because likely there's like, I'm either going to refund them, I'm going to remake what they needed to make sure that it's what they wanted. I'll even give them a gift card so that hopefully they could come back and give us another go. But you're like, and it's really hard as a small business owner because I still take every negative review personally. And I try not
Yeah.
to, but, and I always, I'm like, man, how can I fix this? How can I fix this? But at the end of the day, you might not be someone's cup of tea, and that's okay.
Well, hey everyone, it's Chris. I want to take a break right now to talk about our sponsors. First of all, the Barista series from Pacific has been a standard in the industry for quite a long time, and decades, right? It's the OG in terms of plant-based beverages. It is a performance plant-based beverage, they say, because it performs on bar the way that you want something of specialty grade to perform. It's made for baristas, tested by baristas, and then released to the world. That's why you get such great performance, great texture, it stands up to the heat from the steaming process. It keeps the flavor balance is great too. It keeps the focus on the coffee. So go and check out the website, pacificfoodservice.com, and get samples in your store today. Try it for yourself. If you're looking for the best plant-based beverages, check out the Barista series from Pacific. Also, our sponsor today is Arto Brick. Arto.com. Better yet, go to the Instagram account at Arto Brick, ARTO Brick. Hard surfaces, tiles, stonework for your cafe. The feel, like when we say the feel of this cafe feels a certain way. Like we feel vibey about it, right? But actually, the feel of the cafe matters too. The visual of the cafe, of the tiles and the feel of the stone. This is all part of the process, and they create beautiful works of art in stone and hard surfaces in your cafe. So I hope that if you're going to remodel, start your first coffee shop, expand your business, and you're looking for vendors for how to outfit it in a unique and beautiful way, Arto Brick makes it onto your list, onto your team, right? So check them out on Instagram at Arto Brick. Tell them that Keys to the Shop sent you, and just send them a DM, start a conversation. Well, you mentioned food. I feel like it's a good opportunity here for us to talk about food, because you don't just do coffee. You've got I think, a decent sized menu, right?
Yeah.
So it's a kitchen, it's food. Describe the food and how that's evolved.
Yeah. We originally thought it was just going to be a coffee shop that also had food, but it's a full blown restaurant now. And the menu has grown over the years because when we do seasonal specials and one becomes really, really popular, we can't help but put it on the main menu. But yeah, we do kind of like American, French, you know, diner, just this kind of like combo.
Yeah.
We try and make it like kind of gourmet, but also approachable. We have a really beautiful eggs Benny with scratch made hollandaise sauce. Our breakfast burritos are packed with veggies and meat, and people really love them. We do all of our baking, our pastry baking in house. And then we've got really great sandwiches and salads. We have delicious soup made from scratch every day. So it's a full blown restaurant. I am grateful for the people that created, our base layer, and we've let all the different people that have come and gone in that kitchen crew get inspired and passionate and create new things. So like there's been a lot of hands on the menu. It's, kind of a collective effort
Yeah.
amongst everyone that's worked for us. So
You mentioned a
yeah.
base layer. Is that just like the starting menu and concept that's been built on?
Yeah, and none of those people are at the cafe anymore. But I love food, and I am very not picky. So, and I have ideas, but I'm not like, the kitchen's not like my place or my skill set. So, I'm glad that, so my ex-partner, he was a baker and also had kitchen experience, and so he was kind of the starting grounds for the kitchen and what it became, and then kind of the rest of the crew took it from there, and it just kind of flourished.
When you operate a place that has both a coffee forward concept and a really strong and noteworthy food program, the delegation that you mentioned earlier really comes in handy with management
Yeah,
and oversight and accountability and all of that fun stuff.
yeah.
Talk about what it takes to run these two concepts pretty, together so that it
Mhm.
feels like the same place and not just like different businesses under the same roof.
Yeah, I'm a lot really lucky, especially now. It's really common in kitchens, and I think the culture is getting better, but like kitchen crews kind of are excused for like unkind behavior, it seems. I had some really rough experiences in the past with other jobs, and it was just kind of like allowed to happen because they worked in the kitchen. And I was like, that's not how it's going to be here. Like, we're not doing that. And so I've held a really hard stance on that. And like, also, I think like in other restaurants, front of house tips out the kitchen, or like the kitchen gets a percentage of like the tips, where I was like, we're all in this together. Like, we're going to do, everyone gets equal share of tips because we're all helping each other out.
Yeah.
And it probably works better for us too, because we aren't like a section based restaurant either. But I think even just that alone created this like equality amongst front of house and back of house. Everyone gets along really well. Like, even in the tense, like most tense times, everyone speaks kindly to each other. They laugh, they joke, they care. So I think I think when you get the right people in place and just have like the culture how you want it to be kind of locked down, it all kind of melts together. So, and then I just also like some things that aren't really common either, I feel like, in the restaurant industry, is gratitude from management and ownership. Like,
Hmm.
people just don't hear thank you very often, and I feel like, again, I think that culture is changing, because I also
Yeah.
think that people are who have been in the industry are finally like opening their own places, instead of, people that just have a lot of money but don't have experience, or like, I want to have a restaurant, blah, restaurant, and I think that's probably where that culture kind of began. But after you've been in the industry and you've experienced those things, it kind of goes back to what I was saying, like, I don't want to be like that. So yeah, it's been really great to have like just a kind, passionate crew, I guess, and that's what's been working for us.
Yeah, well said. And you're right, that culture, it's all built from something. It's built from just a lot of times neglect and,
Mhm.
not neglect can be being, terrible to people, like directly evil toward people. Or it can just be the abandonment. Like we're not even going to see what it's like to work in the kitchen until we get dinged by the health department. We're
Yeah,
not going to look at what it takes to be a barista, but we're going to get really upset when something happens, but we don't even know that we just got crushed by this, rush of people, and we
yeah,
get bent out of shape about, the condition of the condiment bar. So that
yeah,
empathy really goes a long way.
yeah, yeah. And like, I have stepped off the floor a little bit, but I never want to fully do that. At least until, I don't know. I feel like it's really important that I stay in it. Like, we had someone we were short staffed one weekend, and we make our sausage patties, from scratch, and someone needed to do it. And so I was like, well, I think this is something that I could jump in and probably do. And for instance, we had one size of glove in the kitchen, but not everyone's hands are the same size. And I was using these large gloves and like had my hands like just deep in this like raw sausage. And the gloves kept pulling, they were sticking to the sausage. And I remembered that I had a box of mediums like deep in storage. So I went and grabbed them and I was put them on and I was like, this is so much easier, guys. Like we need to have like wear this glove size that's proper for you or else this is going to be miserable, but like getting in it, experiencing it so that you know where these people are coming from and you can make their experience just a little bit easier or more enjoyable.
That's funny. I I love that story because there was an old client of mine who used to schedule people for clopins, and I don't. When I worked, I didn't mind them because I was like picky about the way my bar would look and stuff. So it felt like a present to myself.
Yeah, you're like,
But
oh, good processing.
the first the first time she worked the bar and she did a clopin, she's like, no one's ever working a clopin again.
Yep.
You know, so it's gloves or it's clopins, but getting in that work is so critical. But you know what? It's interesting to think about if there was a small-handed barista wearing big gloves, making sausage just and cursing the universe because of this. Why? The question we always have to ask is, what about our communication and culture can improve to allow somebody to raise a concern about the gloves?
Yeah.
Because I know this, like
Yeah.
we're really good at overcoming dysfunction and almost enshrining dysfunction as baristas. Like if it's broken, it's like now that's our thing.
Yeah.
We won't say anything about it. So what do you think is behind that? Why don't people say things?
I don't know. I think it does feel like my staff says a lot. And when I talked to them about it, they were like, "Oh my god, I didn't even think about that." Like, I just don't think they put together like why that was hard. They're just like, "This is just how it is."
Hmm.
And I do have really small hands, so like maybe it's not as big of an issue for most of them. So yeah, but that's a good question, and maybe I do need to ask that question, to them and say, "Hey, or is there anything else that you're not telling me that might make your life a little bit easier?" So I'd like to think that they are going to let me know when things like that come up because
Yeah,
it seems like they do, but that's
sure.
definitely like a hole in the system that I probably should go and look at.
You can always show up for people, and it sounds like this is like what you do, and your passion is, of course, you love coffee, you love food, you love people,
Hmm.
and you all do share that in common working at your
Yeah.
cafe. At the same time, nobody's perfect. We're not going to say everything that's on our mind.
Yes.
Thank God. I mean, like we, this is how a lot of us are still friends. So I think, yeah, it's good to think about the fact that if we just show up with trust, that
Hmm.
it's okay if we missed something. It's just that we trust that the intentions were never to harm. It's just we're busy
Yeah.
sometimes.
Yep.
So
100%. Trust is a huge thing. Making sure people feel like you trust them is a huge thing too. I try really hard to make sure my crew knows that I trust them, and because I think that gives them a little bit more shoulders down. And I'm like,
yeah,
guys, like I think sometimes people just inherently think they're in trouble, and I always go, "When have you ever been in trouble here?" Like, where's that coming from? And obviously, it's from like a past thing or whatever. But like,
yeah.
no one's really like ever been in trouble. Like maybe we've talked about things, but that's also just I think a sign of people's pasts and their experiences other places and stuff like that.
Yeah, that's good point because the that learned response
Mm,
is it's hard to overcome, and customers I think are like that as well. They walk in. We've always said people have been hurt by coffee in the past. I think it goes for baristas and customers. They walk in and they're like, "Well, you're going to be just like that other coffee shop." So I'm basically either I'm going to be like super controlling and very nitpicky
yeah.
in line. I'm going to like command this bar because that's what I had to do at my last coffee shop. They never listened to me, but
Hmm.
eventually you win them over, right?
Yeah.
Because you're loving on them enough that they love you back,
Yep.
just like you say.
Yeah. I've told my crew, sometimes when people get upset, or something doesn't go wrong, it's like the most beautiful opportunity to win someone's like undying loyalty, because how you react then
Hmm.
might make them feel more cared for than they ever have before. So like we will, like I was like, if someone has a complaint or they want something different, do it. Give them their meal free. Say, I am so sorry. We will fix this for you. We hear you. Sometimes people just aren't used to being heard. And so they instantly are in like the defense mode before they even need to be. And if
Yeah.
you handle them with care and love, they're like, oh my gosh, they walk away feeling like heard and cared for. And now they're going to go tell their friends about the experience that they just had. And they're going to come back, and like their loyalty is like deeper than even your most loyal customer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's really good. And it takes some confidence for your staff to be able to do that. It takes a lot sometimes to overcome the self-preservation instinct
Mhm.
when you're facing an angry customer,
Yeah.
and you as a barista, and especially you as the barista owner,
Mhm.
want to say, do you know what I sacrificed just in the last 6 hours,
Yeah.
let alone the last 4 years, to listen
Mhm.
to you complain about hollandaise sauce
Yeah.
breaking or
Yeah.
something? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so it feels like, let them have it. You're the owner, you can do it. And
Yeah.
the other is saying, don't do it. There's something better than that. I mean,
Mhm.
it sounds like you choose the right path, and you have staff that choose the right path. I mean, do you all talk about this, like taking the higher road and so forth?
All the time. And we talk, I mean, I celebrate all the great reviews, and I always bring back the reviews, and I'm like, "Hey guys, I know like this is one side of the story, this is the other side of the story. It's somewhere in between." I was like, "I just want to see what we can take away from this and learn from this and just do better for next time." And I think they do know that I have their backs if they're like truly going to like be disrespected, or like they feel supported in that way. So when it's just like an annoying complaint that probably was silly, they have seen what happens when you just kind of kill them with kindness in return. But like also we recently had a regular, he had come and complained once about his breakfast a long time ago, and I was like, "Thank you so much for telling me this. We're going to do better next time." And then he had come in multiple times after, and it was like, best breakfast ever, best breakfast ever, best breakfast ever. And then the other day we have this breakfast lunch cutoff time because we have a tiny kitchen, and we're trying to do two big menus. And on the weekends, if there's overlap, it's just really hard on our kitchen. So we decided, okay, we have this breakfast cutoff time on the weekends. It's 11:30. It says it on the front door, on the menu, on the, chalkboard. It says breakfast ends at 11:30 on the dot. And this gentleman missed the cutoff, and he swore, threw his hands in the air, kicked the bar, threw menus on the ground, hit the door on the way out. And I was like, nope, he doesn't get to come back here. And I was like, you guys, I am so sorry that this happened to you. I even made a post about it on Instagram because I was like, we do not accept this behavior because we are too kind to everyone to like accept this kind of behavior. So like there's a balance, right? Like, and I think it also gives perspective when someone's having a hard day. You never know why they're complaining. They might have had like a really crappy day. And it's not an excuse to treat someone poorly. But if you can try and make it better, as long as you're not like giving away something valuable of yourself, it's a lot easier to handle people that way. But then there's just some people that are just going to be jerks.
Yeah, that's awful, and I'm sorry that happened. And for somebody who thought it was the best breakfast ever, what volatility! Oh my goodness, this man loves breakfast.
He does.
So he needs to love people a little bit more. But okay, here's a question I want to kind of end with, because I do believe that people who do the work you do and the people you work with are pretty resourceful. And for all of the hunting down of resources and how to's and checklists and things that we want to ensure success, it's pretty clear that the attitude going in and the belief going in about what you're about will help you find the right answers when you need them and what the right answers
Yeah.
are for you. So, all that technical stuff kind of boils down to what is it you're after. And so, I think you've done a great job talking about that. And the question is, when you walk into the cafe today, what do you see happening that lets you know you're doing well? You're doing what you set out to do.
It's really cool to see. I think one of the most beautiful things, especially in our location, I'm seeing people connect that may have never connected anywhere else in their life. We've made, like, collectively, because of everyone that's been a part of this, it's become a place where every type of person feels comfortable, and that was my main goal. And I like we make really great coffee and food, and that is another reason, that gets people in the door. But I genuinely believe, like, if you're a genuine person that cares about, like, the people that are in your building, in your business, everything else will come together. And that was, I talked to a lot of business savvy people, and I don't think they really believed that I was going to pull this off. Because I just didn't have, like, the technical skill, the business planning and all that stuff was really difficult for me, and I worked really hard at it, but I was like, I just know this is going to be okay. And so when I walk into the cafe, I get to see these beautiful connections. I get to see people trying drinks and food that they never have before and enjoying it. Um, I'm really proud of the culture in there, and I love showing up every day and getting to say hi to people by name and ask however, or like, how things are going with whatever's going on in their life. And I feel really supported and loved. And uh, my crew is telling me that they like coming to work, so that's a win. And I don't know, it's just beautiful. The people connections are just beautiful there. So yeah.
Nice. Mackenzie, thank you so much for taking the time to explore the story of your space with us and explain the philosophy and the goal. I think it's super encouraging and aspirational for all of us. So, where can we go to learn more about your cafe?
I'm most active on Instagram. I do have a website and I write blog posts here and there, but Instagram's kind of like my creative space. So, Kittitas Cafe on Instagram is where you'll find us.
All right. Well, again, I appreciate you. Thanks for the work you do. Keep it up, and really enjoyed talking to you.
Thank you. It was such a joy to talk with you. Thanks for the opportunity.
All right, everybody. Well, I hope that you really enjoyed that conversation. There is so much there. And I think I just keep going back to the idea of we have a lot of details that we need to think about when we're running a coffee shop. But if you've got the North Star with such vivid clarity in your mind every day, then the tools and the people and the culture and the decisions you make will more likely than not be aligned with that as long as you keep it in the forefront of your mind. It's obvious that Mackenzie and the team there have each other in mind. They have the culture, they have the product, the experience, the love that's at the center of all of that helps guide whether or not we, choose a kind of machine or a kind of scheduling app or the way we speak to each other, how many times we meet and what we're meeting about, all serving the end goal. So that's a huge thing that I'm walking away from this conversation with. And I know you probably have a few other things that you've resonated with in this conversation, and that comes from just the life of an entrepreneur lived with integrity to the cause, to the values. So huge thank you to Mackenzie Cohen for being on the show. Great to have stopped in and got that Americano feels meant to be. I'm glad we can get you onto the show, and you've inspired us for sure. So thank you. If you want more information about Kittitas Cafe, go to kittitascafe.com. You can also check them out on Instagram at Kittitas Cafe. Very simple, and follow them there. Reach out to them. And if you're going through Eastern Washington through Kittitas, definitely check them out. You can, there's that little main drag there. I had such a great time. That there's a bookstore next door, used books, great selection. Then there's this great coffee shop with great food. You could probably live on this street and be pretty happy the rest of your life. So anyway, go check them out. Kittitas Cafe on Instagram and kittitascafe.com. So thanks, everybody. Now, if you have any questions or comments about the episode today, go ahead and email Chris at keystotheshop.com. Don't forget, we have the webinar happening, which is all around operations, people, and quality, and with the keys to unlocking the potential and the effectiveness of those three areas is really the keys to the shop. I mean, honestly, it's what the webinar is going to try to touch on here is the success principles in cafes. It's not so much about the we have to maximize, the foot, placement of the cafe for foot traffic and all the requisite things that we know. We already know a lot of the stuff that technically leads to a successful coffee shop. You and I know that not every coffee shop that does all of the standard boilerplate small business association best practices is successful, because there are certain little connective elements that are not there. And this is what we're going to cover in this webinar. So if you're interested in that, go ahead and go to the link in the show notes and click on it to purchase your ticket today. It's an hour of presentation and teaching, 30 minutes of live Q&A. You get the recording, you get a workbook, and you get the value of this kind of meeting and insight. And so I hope that I can see you there. There is still time and space to sign up. Just check the link in the show notes for that. All right. So that's it, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us on another Founder Friday. And I hope that this episode has truly given you keys to the shop.